Trust me when I say you don't want to miss this episode of JoJo, as we finally get the origin of the arrows which grant people the ability to use stands. Get ready to stand up with excitement, my friends. It's time to take a look at another episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind, and thankfully, this is not another recap episode. Is it just me, or has this series had a lot of recap episodes lately, and in such a short proximity to one another? I have to say, that was kind of disappointing last week when I was really excited to see what was going to happen after the death of Abakio, only to be greeted with an episode that showed me all of the things that I've seen before. I understand that at times, due to scheduling, it's a necessary evil, but thank God we finally got back into the main story in this episode, and there are a lot of major developments here in the introduction of 3 brand new characters. One of them actually looks like they're going to be an ally to Giorno and his friends. It seems like this guy who is able to know the secret identity of not only the boss, who apparently has the name Diavolo. Yeah, I know, that was kind of shocking. It just sort of came out of nowhere with no fanfare at all. And he also revealed the origins of the very arrows that give people stand abilities, which again, just sort of came out of nowhere. And I honestly didn't expect that this series was actually going to get into any of that. I actually kind of felt in the back of my mind that they were always going to keep the whole like arrow thing and giving people stand abilities like kind of like a big secret. But no, it's actually all officially revealed in this episode. So as I was saying, Giorno and Bruno are trying to figure out the identity of the boss on their computer when suddenly they're intercepted by some sort of hacker who starts communicating with them and wants to work directly with them to stop the boss for reasons unknown. But he seems to have some sort of motive behind all of it, and he has no problem of telling them the boss's name, Diavolo, and telling them about the secret of the arrows, which apparently were actually created from this meteorite which fell a long time ago, and the power of this meteorite actually had the ability to sort of manifest special powers into people, but it also had the potential to kill them and transform them into a pile of gory mush. But there's this one guy who is actually able to take this material and transform them into arrows, and of course, as we know, if anybody is pierced by this ability, if they are deemed worthy or if their body can somehow take it, they have the ability to use stand powers. And the implication, of course, is that there have been many arrows over time, and we've seen them sort of spread out all over the world. What I do think was kind of interesting during this entire sequence is that when this character was actually talking about all of these, we saw the silhouettes of like all of the major characters from Stardust Crusaders. So there is the potential that we could be seeing someone return from that series, or maybe someone who made a minor appearance during that season. I can't wait to see if that's actually going to happen, and maybe to see if this ties into some of that other story, or maybe even going further back to the very beginning of JoJo. I think that would be really awesome to see, especially because so far, Golden Wind has sort of had like its very own flavor and doing its own thing, and to finally have something that ties into the other JoJo series, I think is really good. I think that's a thread that always needs to be present in every single JoJo anime, so I was really happy to actually see all of that. This mysterious stranger instructs Giorno and Bruno to actually meet him in Rome, and that's where they're going to meet and come up with some sort of plan to take down the boss. And when they finally do arrive in Rome, that's when we are introduced to 2 brand new characters, Cioccolata and Secco, these very disturbing stand users. They mostly focus on the character of Cioccolata and his backstory, which is pretty disturbing even by JoJo standards. I mean, I don't know what it is about the world of JoJo, but there are a lot of messed up people in it. These guys are so disturbing, in fact, that even Diavolo, the boss of Passione, feels that they're kind of not right for the organization. He's even a little disgusted by some of the things that they actually do. So the end of the episode is sort of a straight introduction to the character of Cioccolata, and Cioccolata's got a really interesting design. He's got like these weird green threads on his head and these markings on his face, and he has a stand which basically allows him to infect people with this mold, which will completely just sort of eat away their body from the inside out. It's really disturbing. The actual name of his stand is Green Day. They call it something else in the subtitled version that I was watching, but of course after every episode of JoJo, I have to go and look at the wiki to see what they actually do call it because they do it for copyright reasons. And Green Day is pretty appropriate as he does attack people with a green sort of moldy stand, and it works in a very strange way. It's actually like sort of triggered by a switch where if you go to like a lower elevation or you jump down low or bend down in some sort of way, this mold will actually start to infect infect your body, with Mista getting hit by it, Narancia's entire body almost being consumed by it, and even everyone who's inside of the turtle getting infected by these abilities. And the way that they show it off for the first time is so freaking sick, with these two drunks who are just hanging outside of Rome, these two guys who are trying to desperately find a bathroom, and one of them even ends up pissing in a freaking mailbox, but they start getting attacked by this stand and their bodies start to disintegrate from this mold. Cioccolata has a quirk. He loves to watch people dying in their last moments. It's something that sort of gets him off. He's fascinated by it. And they go through his entire backstory, which is incredibly disturbing, where he was actually a young and budding smart child who was obsessed with the deaths of people, and he actually wanted to become a doctor so that he could sort of take advantage of that, so that he could purposely kill his patients and actually see them in their final moments. Because again, he's obsessed of seeing people die at the very last second, and to the point where he actually likes to film the deaths of his people. His cameraman is none other than Secco, who, according to the narrator in this episode, is actually one of his former patients who somehow was able to survive, and survive enough to the point where Cioccolata decided that he wanted to sort of bring him into the fold. Safe to say, Cioccolata and Secco are two very sick individuals, and like I said, the entire backstory of the character was highly disturbing, especially the detail they went into where he would experiment on his patients by not using a lot of anesthesia so that they would feel pain. There's a scene where he's literally cutting a dude open, pulling out his own guts just for him to see. It's really damn freaky. I can totally understand why Diavolo is completely disgusted by these two characters, and I really can't wait to see what Secco is actually going to do, as he has a very intriguing design. He kind of looks like a weird mummified ninja of some kind. I don't know. I'm guessing it's going to be hiding some sort of deformities, which were probably given to him by Cioccolata, but man, these are two of the craziest and creepiest villains, and I can imagine why they've been saving them for closer to the end of the series, and I really can't wait to see how they're going to be able to combat all of their very unique abilities, especially considering we haven't even seen what Secco is fully capable of yet. What's the rundown on this episode of Golden Wind? Another great episode, which again manages to be incredibly disturbing, but also incredibly intriguing all at the same time. At first I thought this was going to be kind of a slow episode, just sort of building up to the introduction of these villains, and yes it was, but at least we finally got to see them in action. And I think one of the biggest wild cards of this episode was simply the introduction of a third-party character who seems to want to help out Giorno and his crew. I'm really interested to see what this guy's beef is with Diavolo and why he has some sort of a past with him. Intriguing minds want to know, and I just can't wait to see if this is another guy who's actually a part of Passione, who maybe was sort of like betrayed by the boss in some way. Maybe he has a past with actually starting the gang for the very first time. This could be basically another disgruntled member of the group, not unlike the La Squadra that we actually saw earlier on in the series, and I can't wait to see that happen. And the fact that he has knowledge about like the origin of the stands themselves, it really shows that this whole like Diavolo thing and the stand powers actually go a little farther than we could possibly even imagine. And getting back to the production value of things, I really liked the way that this episode looked, especially at the end with showing Cioccolata's abilities. Just the way that it's actually shown with the people being attacked by his stand, how their bodies just immediately disintegrate and turned into moldy dust. It's a really disturbing image, and I can't wait to see how they're actually going to fight against this guy. They're going to have to come up with an interesting strategy, but I have a feeling that there's a reason that these two characters are paired with one another. Secco has probably got some sort of ability that allows him to sort of protect Cioccolata, or maybe even vice versa. Maybe Secco can't even really do anything except for hold a camera and look like a total creep. I don't know. I'm just really excited to see it all happen. And again, the episode was filled with a lot of that great ingenuity that JoJo is always known for. Like when Narancia was stuck on the ship, and Mista thought the only way to get him back up to a higher elevation would be to shoot his sex pistols right past the boat, and then kick the bullets directly into the motor, which would cause an explosion, propelling him forward. It's ridiculous, but it works in that JoJo kind of way. And this episode was awesome, which is why I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Another awesome, high-caliber episode, which is getting me really excited for another epic battle with some crazy stand users. This was awesome. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode, what you thought about the introduction of Cioccolata and Secco, his stand, the Green Day, how they're going to fight back against it, and what's the deal with this guy who actually wants to help out Giorno's group? Is he good? Is he bad? What's his deal? What do you want to see from the rest of Golden Wind? Tell me all your thoughts in the comments section below. So thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.